Okay, I think we're live, and hi everybody. I'm gonna give it a minute just to make sure that that you're all here and that you can hear us. I'm live today with Keegan White, talking about the really important topic of building resilience in your business and the importance of that. So if you're here and you can hear us, I'm gonna look now for the comments just to make sure, and then I'll give you the floor, Keegan, but let me just make sure that this is actually happening and we are live and people can see us. Yes, I can see that we're live. Okay, good. Yeah, so anybody who's here, just make sure that you just give us a comment, let us know that you can hear us. And let me introduce Keegan. So for those of you who are new, I've been doing this lovely series of Live with Rania, with amazing people from around the world, talking about the things that are really important to me and that I want to share with you, and that I often do share with you, but it's so nice to hear different things from different people, everybody with their own way of talking about the topic, whatever it is. So Keegan is also a mindset coach, and she does a lot of the things that I do as well. She loves to work with reprogramming the brain and the overall well-being of heart-centered women, right? Mm-hmm. And how to overcome self-doubt so that they can live the life that they love while making more money and having a greater or bigger impact. So how awesome is that? So yeah. Thanks, thank you for being here today and taking time to go live with me. I know that a lot of people benefit from these lives. So yes, and somebody says, hello, I can see her, I can hear you. Hi, Hannah. So great, we're good to go. Yay. So without further ado, I'm gonna leave the floor to you. I know you have some valuable things to share with the audience. So please take over.
Absolutely. So, hey, everybody, my name is Keegan White. I am located in Holly Springs, North Carolina, which is on the East Coast of the US. And I wanted to talk about building resilience and the importance of building resilience in your business, because as an entrepreneur, you know that one of the things I think that I have had, one of the bigger struggles I've had as being an entrepreneur is learning to maintain the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs and the ups and the downs that entrepreneurship actually brings. And I wasn't prepared for that in the beginning. I didn't know any different. So I thought it was all supposed to be smooth sailing. I don't know where I got that idea from, but that's kind of what I thought. And so when I was going like up and down, it was like so stressful. And I really appreciated when other people would share their experiences of that's part of it, that really is part of being an entrepreneur, is the ups and downs. And so the resilience piece is something I've worked on in other areas of my life, but then taking those tools and really applying it to my business, it took some work, and it really took some practice of applying these tools and some acceptance of, this is the way that it is. It's not always going to be like this, but especially in the beginning, it was just so much up and down. And especially in this last year, we have seen, so much just economically, pandemic, there's just so much has happened in this last year. And now more than ever, it's so important for people to learn, if they haven't already learned, that skill set. And, the thing about resilience is that a lot of people think, you're born with it, you either have it or you don't. And there is some truth to that. Some people are more resilient than others, but we've learned that through science and research that anybody can learn resilience. It is an actual skill set. So some of the things I want to talk to you all today are just some of the things that I've learned along the way to apply resilience in my own business and how I teach with my clients.
Excellent. That sounds great. I actually, most of the people in the group, or a lot of them at least, are entrepreneurs. And as an entrepreneur as well for 25 years, I totally agree with you. There are so many ups and downs. And I think the mistake that I made, it's okay. I'm fine with all my mistakes because there are learnings there. But sure. Just thinking that I had to do it alone, and that I need to not show that I'm not feeling so good or whatever, and pretending to be strong all the time. And it's just not always the case. But the thing is, we can build that skill, as you said. And so that's a number of things that it takes, I suppose, to build that resilience. So I guess you'll be sharing some of those with us. But yeah, for everybody out there, it can be a lonely journey if we allow it to be, entrepreneurship. It also can not be if we actually connect with other people and get the support that we need, and maybe have a coach or a mentor, or be in communities that support us and actually not shy away from speaking what's actually true, is that it's not always glamorous, and it's not always, we don't wake up every single day feeling super excited and super under control. And no, it's normal though, because I think if people paint a picture of it being too, perfect, that kind of makes people who don't have that feel like something's wrong with them.
Absolutely.
I think there's nothing wrong with them, but through practice and through the right kinds of things, they can also get where we kind of are now, with doing better with our ups and downs, basically, not having them, but sort of doing a lot better through them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And out the gate, when I started my business, I hired a business coach, and that was one of the smartest things I did, because I needed to learn how. I didn't really have a whole lot of business experience. I came into coaching from being a yoga teacher, so I'd always worked for somebody else, and so stepping from working from somebody else into the CEO, it took me a while to step into that CEO mindset, that way of being. It definitely took me a while to kind of transition into that. But having that support, whether it's through business coaching or mindset coaching or even life coaching, it's just so invaluable to have people around you who can support you, who have been where you've been, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's true. I have a comment here, so I'm going to let you do the speaking, but whenever there's a comment, I'll let you know. So as a comment, Suzanne says, sounds wonderful. Thank you for addressing this very important topic. Resilience is key amidst all the challenges we face as entrepreneurs. So yes, totally agree with that. So yeah, let us know what would be your top tips, or for building that resilience.
Sure. So when I work with clients, there are basically 3 pillars in the way that I work with clients when it comes to building resilience. And it's movement, mindset, and meditation. And it's more heavily on the mindset piece, but I think it's really important to talk about the movement and the meditation piece as well, because they're all tools that we can use to help build more resilience in your life and in your business. And so I'll just briefly talk about the movement piece. So, when we get into a space where we're overwhelmed, or we're feeling stagnant, or we can't, there's just writer's block, we're in that space where analysis paralysis, we've all been there, where we're just so in our head, we can't think about what's to do next. There's like a million things to do. What do we do next? Creative juices aren't flowing. And that can really create a space of feeling stuck. It can feel like you don't know what to do next. And then that can bring on a lot of self-doubt and shame, and a lot of undercurring feelings can come up with that. So one of the quickest way that you can really shift out of that is to move your body. Literally, sometimes I just stand up and I just shake out my whole body for 10 seconds. And that in and of itself will do wonders to shift the way that you think. Another thing that I do with clients is, if you love to dance, take a 3-minute break or a 5-minute break and turn on your favorite song and dance. Sometimes I just get up and I go downstairs, move around the house, and I come back up. It can even be that you go outside and you go for a walk, or whatever you need to do. It doesn't have to be a big workout. It can literally just be 5 minutes of movement, but that will completely shift your perspective. It'll shake out all the negative energy, and it'll help you get into a space of more creativity, more action, versus sitting at your desk and trying to pound something out when it's just not flowing. So that's one strategy that you can quickly implement to create resilience or to create movement in your business. So then the second piece that I like to teach my clients is meditation. So I like to talk about the movement. It's kind of like the quick fix. Yes. Meditation's more of the long game. As a yoga teacher, I will say that I'm really heavily more in the movement piece, and it took me a very long time to get into the meditation piece. I am a super big mover, hard for me to sit still. I share that because I hear from so many people, I don't like a meditation, or meditation's hard, or I don't get it, or I'm not good at it. That's a big one. I'm not good at it. And I think it's because we have these preconceived notions when it comes to meditation, that we're supposed to sit and be still, and nothing is supposed to happen in your mind. And I want to share with you that is just not the reality of meditation. Meditation is meant to, yes, quiet the mind, but also it's an opportunity for you to observe the mind. And that's the way that I really teach my clients. It's less about quietening the mind. It's much more about let's observe. In yoga, we call it chitta, or the chatter of the mind. So let's just observe the patterns. Let's observe what is coming up. And so one of my coaches put me on a meditation challenge a little over a year ago. It was meditate for 40 days for 3 minutes. And that ultimately changed my life, because I was like, before thinking, I don't have time to meditate. It's not good for me. Or it's not, I can't do it. All those things that we tell ourselves. And when she said 3 minutes a day, my brain was like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I can do 3 minutes. And 3 minutes turned to 5 minutes, which turned to 10 minutes. And then, you know, it really helped me tremendously through, especially the beginning part of the pandemic when things were going crazy and haywire. There was so much fear in the whole world. There was so much anxiety. And the meditation really helped me to stay stable. And so that's why I really believe that meditation can be such a beautiful practice in building resilience in your business, because it can create that ease of stability. It doesn't mean you're not going to go up and down, because we're human. But from my experience, that when I meditate regularly, I'm just way more even keel about things than I am kind of all over the place, because naturally I'm a little all over the place kind of person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I totally agree. I had a similar experience with meditation when I was first exposed to it, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was like, oh my God, this really isn't for me. I'm supposed to close my eyes and I'm supposed to be quiet. And I tried, but there was so much noise in there. I was like, okay, so obviously I'm not good at this. That's what I thought then.
Yeah.
And of course, fast forward a few years, when I really learned proper meditation and really studied meditation and understood what it's about, and the way I teach it now as well with my clients, there is no right or wrong. It's perfect exactly as the way it is. And yeah, as you said, for anybody here new to meditation, you're basically a non-judgmental observer of yourself in that moment, and accepting. The whole point of it is just to accept what is in that moment. Yourself, everything that's happening, including any thoughts, anything is just fine the way it is. Now, over time, that would quiet the mind, but we don't need to think about that as the goal. And like you said, our excuses. I mean, I always was full of excuses. I don't have time for this. I can't do this, or let me start after the new year, or you're right. If you just do it for 3 minutes or even 1 minute, whatever, consistency is gonna make it work. And yeah, I said, there's a comment here. I love the combo of movement, mindset, and meditation, with meditation being more mindful and reflective and more accessible of an idea than sitting with a blank mind, which a lot of people struggle to do. Yeah, and that's, I think, the idea of trying to force yourself to have a quiet mind. Forcing yourself to do anything really is not going to work. Accepting yourself exactly as you are, whatever your mind is deciding to do or not do, is the way to eventually let go of what you want to and keep what you want to. So yes, thanks for that comment, Hannah. And what I like as well about the way you presented movement and meditation, to me, the first thing I thought of when you said that is that's exactly the doing versus the being. So the masculine versus the feminine.
Sure.
Many of us, even not especially, but even females, because this gets a bit confusing, we're actually using our masculine energy more. So we're doing. I was doing for 25 years. I was like running in front of a train, feeling like I have to always be accomplishing things to be good enough. That's the whole doing thing. I was not good at just simply being, just tuning into what they call the feminine energy, and just being and receiving and feeling deserving, accepting. And that's where the more of meditation comes in, which is why I wasn't good at that, you know what I mean? But I got really good at that now, because I actually started to be more in tune with both doing and being, so like I've got that balance. We don't have to be running around doing things all the time. We aren't human doings, we're human beings. And I think many of us aren't able to just be still and quiet and be with ourselves and be our own best friends and, be loving of ourselves. Even the voice in our minds, the inner critic, and the way we use it, what we're telling ourselves, for that to be really kind and loving, as compassionate as we are to others, that was a journey for me, for sure. And it made a big difference in my life for me to do that, to actually start loving myself more and being able to spend time with just myself. Then I was able to actually give more to others as well. And my business grew and everything. So I think those two things that you said are not just for resilience. I mean, even just for self-acceptance and self-awareness. sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. And what I'll just kind of piggyback off of that is that we as collectively as a society we've never been this overstimulated before. I mean, with the advancement of technology and our phones and email and, all the apps that we have and all the social media, I mean, people can get us 24/7. We have never been here before. And we are so inundated with so much external that we've also never been here before where we rely so heavily on the external that we forget about the internal because we're so overstimulated. So then when it comes time to sit and be still and be, like you're just talking about, it's so hard for us because we have been so wrapped up in this external world that is just so overstimulating. So for anybody who's newer to meditation or, it's been a while, just please be gentle with yourself and just, a reminder that, again, we've never collectively, humans, we've never been here. We've never been this overstimulated. So it's going to take some time to detach from that, unplug from that, and then check back into your internal. And it's so important. I love that you talked about the way that you speak to yourself. And that's so important. A lot of the work that I do with my clients is really helping them to unpack and shift the way that they think about themselves. And I want to go into that in just a moment, but one more thing about the meditation and training the brain and training the nervous system. So, one of the benefits of meditation is the deep breathing. And when you go into deep breathing and you try to breathe into your diaphragm, you are actually calming your central nervous system. So when you're in a space of overwhelm or when you're in a space of feeling anxiety or anxious about what's to happen, one of the quickest ways that you can do that, other than get up and move your body, is to sit and take deep, deep breaths using the diaphragm. I've gotten to a place now where as soon as I sit in meditation, I start to go into what's called Ujjayi breath, which is more audible and ocean-like sounding breath. It's something we use in yoga, something I use in meditation because it creates an anchor for the mind. But when I go into that, my brain immediately goes, whoop, this is time to slow down, because I've trained it to know that that kind of breathing is meant to calm the nervous system. So I just kind of wanted to go back. That's one of the ways that we can train our brain and calm the nervous system at the same time.
And it sends oxygen to the brain, right? I mean, that's, and it's really useful for then if you're starting to feel anxious, because a lot of people, are saying, I have anxiety or I get overwhelmed. The thing is, if we start to be in tune with our body, it doesn't just happen. There's usually, it starts to happen. We start to feel like we're about to get anxious. And if we sort of take a few moments and breathe before we actually reach the state where we really are anxious, then that can actually stop that process and we'll feel okay again. So the breathing can actually reverse that. And so that's also a useful tool for anxiety as well, or for just calming down. So when you breathe, when you do meditation, do you breathe through the nose or through the mouth? How do you do it?
I breathe through the nose. And I do, again,
nose
the whole time.
Yeah, I do too, but just that I know some people do it in through the nose and out through the mouth or something, but I was just wondering in case anybody watching as well was interested. And then the funny thing is, when I first started just breathing, which is something that I thought I knew how to do, but it turns out I was breathing, but I was doing the opposite, because when you're breathing, okay, and now I'm going to get it wrong. Yeah, when you're breathing in, so you're filling your body with air, so you're supposed to be expanding,
right?
But I wasn't. I was doing the opposite. So I was like breathing in, but I was pushing myself in. I don't know what I was doing, but I actually had to learn how to breathe properly through the meditation process, and that was like really interesting for me.
Absolutely, because and oftentimes we're not necessarily taught, we automatically breathe, but so much because, again, we are having a lot of anxiety in our world. When you have anxiety, you tend to breathe from the chest, which is why you feel the shortness of breath, because you can't get your breath because you're breathing in just the chest. The way to combat that is to really practice breathing all the way down into your stomach. You want to think about, as you inhale, try to press your belly button away from you. And then when you exhale, think about drawing your belly button towards the back of your spine. Yeah. And that's another way.
Like again, a balloon filling up. So it's your belly button is like a balloon filling up, and then it fills back and it goes back down. So yeah, that's just because, like, for me that was a learning. I don't know, maybe it sounds obvious, but for me it wasn't. So I thought I would share that. And I want to tell you a couple of comments. Sure. So well, somebody says, I love that, Rania, we're human doings. We aren't human doings, we're human beings. So being mindful in the moment as we do, we should also focus on being. And she's saying, I often struggle with that. So Shan, thanks for sharing that. And then another comment, Shaima asks, so is it wise to sit with our loved ones and try to tell them that we want to live a more calm life, or do we need to work only on ourselves? So that's also a good question.
It's a great question. And I think, I would share that it starts internally with you. So people tend to, when a new lifestyle or a change is pressed upon somebody, people by nature are resistant, they're rebellious, they don't want to do it. And so my experience is the quickest way to get somebody to join you is that you work on yourself. You start to do what you need to do for you. What's going to happen is you're going to change internally, which is going to also change your external world, which people will see that and go, hey, what are you doing? I want to do that. And then that's how you pull people into creating a different lifestyle or adding different things into your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as well, things like, maybe just open, honest communication, expressing yourself, maybe even setting some boundaries. Or, these are, so I would probably, the inner work, that's like, to me, that's the most important thing we can ever do in our lives for ourselves and for others, is to work on ourselves. Yeah. At the same time, we want to be expressing our true selves with people around us, especially the people closest to us. Mm-hmm. So expressing our authentic true selves means sharing that with the people who love us, and they might get it and they might not, and that's okay. We don't have to always agree on things. We can be respectful, but I would say also do both. I mean, share with people what's important to you, what you desire, what you're working towards, and give them a chance to come on board, or maybe not. But it's part of as well, because I think part of it is working ourselves, and part of it is as we express ourselves, like what we're thinking and saying and doing, there'll be an alignment there. I think that's important as well. So yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. She says makes sense. Thanks. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So you keep going, Keegan.
Yeah. So then that leads us to the mindset piece, which is like honestly my favorite part. I'm so fascinated how human beings operate and how our brains operate and our minds, and how our minds can either be our biggest enemy and just be so hard on ourselves, or we can use our mind and it can be our biggest cheerleader and really use it to really motivate and accomplish great things. And so I'm always fascinated, what happens in the mind, what's happening in the brain, and specifically, what is the conditioning, what is happening in the subconscious mind too. So when I start to work with clients, you mentioned the inner critic earlier. I like to call it, because I work with women, the inner mean girl. It's that voice in our head that is downright mean sometimes. It can be snarky, it can be even savage, it can just be brutal. That voice that, tells you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not capable enough. You should just keep your mouth shut. Like, why are you doing this anyway? What's wrong with you? I mean, I could keep going on and on and on, but we all have that voice. And I, for a long time, did not know that voice wasn't me. Because it was happening in my own head, I just assumed, gosh, like that's just me. And it wasn't until I started really doing mindset work and personal development that I started to understand that it's actually part of the brain. It's the part of the amphibian brain that when it gets triggered or when it gets turned on, it's the part of the brain that's meant to keep you safe. And I always say it sounds so counterintuitive, because you might have this great idea, like I want to start a podcast, or I want to become a coach, or I want to start this business, and you feel like get so excited, and then there's a part of your brain that goes, oh, we want to keep you safe, and it comes up and it says, well, what will other people think? Do you have enough experience? Should you go back to school first? I don't know if this is a good idea. And it starts to plant the seeds of doubt. And again, it's meant to keep us safe, and safe from rejection, safe from criticism, failure, even success. So it comes up anytime we stretch ourselves, anytime we try something new, we cannot get rid of it. And so part of building resilience in your business is understanding what that voice is, understanding that it's the part of you. It is not all of you. It doesn't define you. And so being able to work with that voice, when we can't get rid of it, we can't like push it to the side, because the more you push it to the side and resist it, the more it's going to come up. So it's about learning how to work with that voice and continue to take action regardless of that voice. So that's a big part of the resilience that I work with clients, is unpacking the inner critic, and then also going a step deeper, because the inner critic is going to be in your conscious mind, which I like to use the analogy of an iceberg. The top of the iceberg that you can see in the water is your conscious mind. That's between 5 and 10% of what you are aware of. And then underneath the water is like this big mass of iceberg, and that's actually your subconscious mind. That's where your memories are stored, past traumas are stored, and all your programming is stored. Oh, did we lose you? Oh, I'm the host now. Uh-oh, am I still talking? I don't know what happened. Somehow I guess I'll keep going, see what happens. Oh, there she is.
Sorry about that. Internet.
No worries. I was just like, oh, do I keep going?
Keep going.
Yay. Yeah, so just talking about, the subconscious and how that's really important part to unlocking your potential and also overcoming limiting beliefs is really starting to unpack that subconscious layer. And then that can help you really release some of those nagging thoughts or that chitta thoughts that you have in your mind.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we were never really taught that not all our thoughts are true. I mean, I think that's really the problem. And I was just telling somebody earlier today, I really wish that we would take a big chunk of what we're taught in our educational system and just replace it with all these things that are really important that nobody told us, that have such a huge, potentially transformational impact on our lives. We just didn't know. So there's another question, also curious about your perspective on preventing social media's effect on our stress levels.
Yes. So thank you for asking that question. That's a great question because, social media, it's here, it's a part of business. I have heard of people that do their business without being on social media. I am not one of those people. The people that I'm around and the coaches that I work with are not those people. So I know that they're out there, but from my experiences, I participate in social media. And so that being said, I will also say that social media and the comparisonitis that I like to call has impacted people's self-esteem so tremendously, so tremendously. So to me, it's about really educating yourself on the toxicity. I can't say that word. How toxic. How toxic it can be. I mean, one of my coaches, he teaches, get into the Facebook group, stay off of your social media news feed, and that, for me, I have had to really set boundaries with social media and really think about, I'm using this for my business. And so when I set my intention, I'm going to use this for my business versus just getting on and like mindlessly scrolling through, which I can still do, but I try to be way more mindful of that. And I also, because I'm in this work and because I do this work so much, I'm very in tune with my body and the impact. So if I'm scrolling through and I see something and I get jealous or envious of somebody, or I think, how are they at X amount of money and I'm not, and that's part of the human brain. When I feel that in my body, when I have that reaction, I'm much more aware of it now, and I'm able to go, okay, time to turn it off. I'm not going to participate in social media, and I'm also not going to participate in this up here. It's one of my favorite mantras to say, I'm not going to participate in this shit, meaning I'm not going to go down that storyline, because I have enough awareness now to say, okay, this is hurting me. And not the person, just the reaction, my reaction to it. And so I want to protect myself to not do that, participate in that.
Yeah. And she was asking detoxing. So I don't know if maybe she's asking, what do you detox, or should we detox?
I definitely, one of the best things I ever did was one Christmas, I made the choice to not do any kind of email or put any kind of content out. And I felt really good about my decision. However, I kept getting all these emails from other coaches who were putting out this and putting out, this sale or this sale, and it just robbed me of my sanity. So what I did is I turned the notifications off of my phone, and I have never turned them back on. And I feel so much better. So much better that thing is not dinging left and right. I love it.
Because you can control as well how much and how. And so Hannah's saying, because you were saying, I'm not going to participate. So Hannah's saying she loves that. I'm not going to participate. Hannah
Yep.
also says, I find that I have to set quite strict boundaries with my use of social media so I don't get sucked into it. Taking big breaks from it also helps keep me grounded in reality. Still struggle sometimes with guilt about not being present and using my voice, etc. But the thing is as well, which we have to realize, now, whether we're using social media for social reasons, although really social to me is in real life, but some people, I'm not even using it for social and personal social reasons. I'm using it for business.
Sure.
But if people are using, if you're using it for business, you can use it for business and not be on it a lot. Because if you plan things, if you plan content in advance, interesting things to say in advance and schedule them ahead of time, you don't actually have to be on it a lot to be on it a lot, if you see what I mean. I'm consistently present on social media, but I'm not on it hours a day at all. I've scheduled things in advance. I've planned things. It's all real, authentic content that's true to me, but I don't have to be there all the time. I am present when it comes to these lives, and and occasionally I would write something heartfelt, but actually I would write it off of social media anyway. So all the actual work I do isn't on social media, and it just gets shared. So if we think about it that way, we don't need to spend hours on social media just to share things. We prepare them, we think about them, and then we can just share them. So that's also one way of looking at it. The other thing is, when you're talking about the negative effects of social media, social comparison is one of, like, I mean, I've studied the science of happiness and positive psychology and all that. So social comparison is like top of the list of things that are going to really cause disease, unhappiness. And I think this is where we just need to stop ourselves. There is nobody like you. There never was and there never will be. So comparing ourselves to anybody else other than ourselves, like a year ago or 5 years ago, is completely futile and useless. And so if we can just, like, if we find ourselves doing that, we can just stop ourselves and say, I can compare myself to myself. What do I want? How far have I come? And actually, what you were saying about if I'm looking at somebody and I'm kind of envious or whatever, that's a chance also to think about, okay, why did that make me feel that way? And what does that mean about what I want? And if I want something, what do I want to do to get there?
Absolutely.
So that's also another way of sort of twisting that around. It's first accepting that actually doesn't even have to be toxic. That's what I mean. You can accept that, okay, so I guess this is how I feel about, that person or whatever, but then actually turning it into something positive, like, okay, what do I want to do? And so along my journey, where do I want to go next, for example, is a good way of using social comparison to your benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. And it's rarely about the other person. It's about us and how our perception about ourselves, because on any given day, I could see the same post, and depending upon my spiritual conditioning, I will be impacted differently. If I'm feeling really good about myself and I see the post, and I can be cheering that person on, but if I'm having a day where I feel shitty about myself, and then I see that same post, and then, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can make it all about me. So it's never about the person. It is, but I love that you talk about that, because it is such an opportunity for us to see where we're at, what do we want, and I love what can we do to get there.
Yes, exactly. So cool. I love how this, it's nice because these questions got us into different topics. I mean, all related, but kind of maybe different. This is why I like lives, because when you're getting questions, it just, the conversation goes places you never knew it would go.
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks guys for asking those questions. And if you have any other questions before we go, please stick them in there now. And Keegan, if you have any last words to share before we go, what would you, you like maybe summarize, wrap it up for us in a package.
Absolutely. So, what I would say, number one thing is to be kind to yourself and to be gentle with yourself. There's so much, again, I'm going to go back to that idea. There's so much external with ads and advertisement and social media, telling you we're supposed to be a certain way and think a certain way, and this is what success is. And the more that you can go internal, and the more that you can nurture yourself, and the more that you can stay true to yourself, and the more that you can take care of yourself, the more that you're going to have resilience throughout your business. Finding the ways that really support you, finding the things that bring you joy. I think sometimes I want to go back to what you said about we're human beings versus human doings. And so it's about, you got to find the things that light you up, that fill your cup, so that you can be who you are meant to be and serve the people you're meant to serve, rather than going out and doing. That's not building resilience. The internal work comes for the building of resilience.
Perfect, wonderful. And Shaimat says, loved attending with both of you. Thank you for attending. And thank you for making this conversation as well really valuable. It was valuable anyway, but I think it's really cool as well how we all bounced off of each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks guys. And thank you so much, Keegan. I really enjoyed this. And I know that people who have been listening have benefited, and more people who will be listening to the replay will benefit. And if you guys, anybody who's watching now or on the replay, if you have any questions, you can still put them in the comments and I can tag Keegan if she doesn't see them.
Yep.
Hannah says, being kind and gentle with yourself is so important. Treating myself like my own best friend, being merciful and non-judgmental with myself has really helped. Absolutely. And she says, thank you for all the insights.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And Keegan, please also put your, in the comments, maybe put your links or any way people can reach you.
I will, absolutely.
Susan says also, thank you both. And thank you guys all. Yeah, please in the comments, whatever you have, if you have a website or a Facebook page or anything like that, please put it there so people can reach out to you as well.
I sure will. And thank you so much for inviting me here. And thank you everybody who's watched this and participated. I really appreciate all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.